welcome to Should I Buy This Game, featuring Wild Gardens. My name is Christine, and in this video I'll give you an overview of how the game is played, and then share a few things I may like or dislike about the game to help you decide if you want to add Wild Gardens to your collection. This is the game Wild Gardens, and in this game basically you are foraging for ingredients, you are fulfilling recipes that you are then going to serve to some of the characters in the game. Now the first thing we do at the start of the game is check out our current location, and since our current location is Toronto, I chose Toronto. I'm always excited to see our city included in different games. So you would be able to get the benefit. So at the beginning of each day in player order, gain 3 of the current main ingredients or discard 1 card in your reserve to gain 3 points. And the current main ingredient is the ingredient shown at the top of this deck. So we would receive 3 woods and we would put them down in our ingredients. You can put them under there or beside, wherever you like. Now this is our player board, and these are our move options. And so what we are doing on each turn is picking one of these depending how many movements we want to make. We can either forage twice, we can cook, we can serve, we can reserve a book, or we can go to the library and study a book and get a benefit, or we can reserve a recipe and gain 2 points. So if I wanted to forage, say I only want to move 1, I would put this here, and that allows me to get 2 ingredients. So up here, my player is here. You always have 3 ingredients open to you, no matter where you are on the board. So I could get an acorn, I could get a flower, or I could get wood. And I can get 2. So maybe I will start by getting an acorn and a flower. Now I have upgraded wood ingredients. They normally come with little chipboard. And I would just add this here. Now we also want to be looking down here at what we need. So maybe I want to make this recipe where I'm going to need some berries. I didn't actually move, I'm sorry. Let's come back here. I'm going to move 1 because this is where I start. You always have to move, and you move in the order of the arrows. So as I mentioned, maybe I need a couple berries. So I'm going to pick instead 2 berries. Okay. So now I notice here I've got this recipe where I need the 3 wood and the 2 berries. This might not be wood, obviously. We don't put wood in there. I'm not exactly sure what the ingredient is. Hickory, I think, maybe. But we need those ingredients. So on my next turn, I need to be on a picnic bench to make my recipe. So I could go 2. And if we look up here and I go 1, 2, I am at a picnic bench. There are a lot of picnic benches, so it's not that hard to get to one. So I could make this recipe. And in doing so, I'm going to trade in all my items back to the supply. And I'm going to add this recipe. It's cooked. And then we just replace it with a new one. So when I look here now, I see there are a couple characters that would like to get a dessert. Because you see, this is a dessert recipe, and they would like a dessert. Pip and Hank and Bandit would like a dessert. These people here would like a meal plus any other recipe you have, if it's a wild one. And over here, it's a salad, and then a salad and a wild one. So maybe the next thing I want to do is serve my recipe. So again, I need to be on a picnic. I have the choice of 1 to 4 movements, 3 and 4. So if I look here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. I could use my 4 to get to this picnic table. So I would take my 4, I would put it here, and I would make my way to the picnic table. Now, because I also forgot, when I make the recipe, I get 5 points, and this is our scoreboard. We get points and we get jars. So when you're getting 5 points, I'm moving my little round token, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, And I'll talk about the jars a little later. So you always get your points instantly. So I can serve now. So we go down here. Now, if I serve Pip, I get 3 points and I get to gain 3 berries. Then it's like if you have 7 or more berries, I could get points, but I do not have any other berries. If I serve Hank and Bandit, when I can, oh, you, not when served, this is discard. So at some point in the game, I could discard that to get the points. And this one, I can move to any empty picnic zone of my choice and then forage 3 times. And again, I could do that at any point during the game. I just discard the card. So I have to decide which to do. Maybe I will do Pip because I get the chance to get 3 more. So I will add Pip, and when I do, my recipe has been served. So sometimes I just turn it upside down. And then Pip gets me 3 points right away. And I just add that in there. So on my next turn, maybe I will do my 3 to study. So I come up here and I move 3. And I'm back at the beginning until I'm near the hickory, the acorn, and the flower. So we go over to the library and you'll notice the books with all the different ingredients. So here's the acorn, here's the hickory, and here's the flower. And that means I can take one of those books and the little extra tile that goes with it. So maybe I want the extra forage. This is an extra forage. This is to get the main ingredient that's shown on top of the recipe pile. This is to get a mushroom. And this is the ability to move plus or minus 1, which is really good when you're trying to get to a picnic. But I think I will get the forage. So what I'm doing is I'm going to put my little book there, and I'm going to put the forage with my foraging. You can put it in any of the 3 areas. And so the next time I take the forage, I am now able to forage 3 items, not 2. And then you would refill the ingredient from the bag. And this one allows you to get a point every time you stop near the hickory. So we'll go back here. My last movement, I get to choose how many moves I want to make, and I'm going to reserve a recipe. So I come up here. I'm not too concerned, so I think I'll just move 1. And then I come down and look at the recipes. And this is a good time, like this one here, it's worth 6 points. So maybe I want to reserve that one. I don't have all the ingredients yet, but it's something I want to make. So I would put it under my reserve cards. I'm just going to put it here. And because I reserved, I would get 2 points. And then, of course, we would refill it. So now that I've used all my tokens, it's time for that day to end. And so the game goes over 3 days at one location, and then we switch locations and do 3 more days. So basically 6 rounds. So I'm going to choose a number. So maybe I choose the number 2. What happens is, if you choose your number 1, you would get 2 points. If you choose your number 2, you can change in a mushroom and a leaf to move the jar. If you choose number 3, you can get 2 berries. And if you choose the number 4, you can forage twice where you are. And each card gives you different benefits. Now, I can't actually do number 2, but I'm just going to choose it to show you what it means. So you choose number 2, and say I had a mushroom and a leaf, like lettuce, in my collection. I could turn that in to move my jar, and this is how the jar moves. So we're going to come back down to our board. Everybody starts with 1 jar, but as you serve some people, you'll notice here that these 2 people have jars. If I had taken them, I would be able to move 2 jars. So it's the people you serve that helps you move further in your jars. But I only have 1 to move, so I'm basically moving from here to here. But the thing you'll notice with the jars is they don't go 1, 2, 3. It goes 2, 3, 5, 6, then jumps all the way to 10. So this is a great way. The more you do it, the further along you're going to get. And then at the end of the game, wherever your jar ends up, you're going to add that many points to wherever your point marker is. So it's a really great way to add a pile of points to your final score. Now the other thing I'm going to mention is, say you had 2 books, and I'll just take this and throw it here for now. If I had 2 books, but I wanted another one, what I would need to do is choose one of my books, and I would return an ingredient from my collection to the supply, and I would return that book. And that would be how I'd be able to take another book to get another token. So you can only hold 2 at once, but you can return them by giving the token that's shown on it, the food item, and then taking another one when you have the opportunity to study in the library. Now to start day 2, once again, we would do this. So if we were getting 3 ingredients, this time we would get 3 of the seed lettuce. We would add. And you may notice now we only have 4 turns this round. And at the end of this round, we're going to give up another number. And for the 3rd round, we only have 3 turns. But then when it's time to start a new location, we will get all our tokens back and start all over again. Now, the other thing I want to mention is with our guests, there are different actions. We talked about the discard to, and that means we can hold on to the card, and when we're ready, we can discard it to get the bonuses. But there's also at game end, so you may discard 4 hickory in your supply to gain 6 points, or 7 to gain 13 points. And these game end cards are very good. It's a good way to earn those big points at the end of the game. And then there's also when served. So you would get whatever it says right when you collect the guest. And then there are bonuses and cards that say activate your when served. So if you have one of these in your hand, you may be able to activate the bonus yet again. And so those are the 3 bonuses you will find, is discard to, at game end, and when served. Now once you've completed 3 trips, you will turn your location card to a new location. You'll have different benefits and different benefits at the end of the day. You would receive your tokens back into your player board. And the other thing is that this board is actually double-sided. So you can take everything off it, collect the pieces, move them to the side, and we can flip the board. Now the interesting thing about this board now is that as you go, it goes off and back. So there's 2s. If you come off this way, you're at 1s. And then here you get to choose 1 or 2. So it just gives you another thing for your last 3 rounds, a different board to play with. And that is basically how Wild Gardens is played. Now there are a couple expansions. I have the media expansion and the community expansion, and I think there's a team expansion. And in it, what you will find are some cards. Now this one here, you will scan this to get another solo scenario. Then you have some guests. So since this is media, it's some people you might recognize from YouTube. So you have Before You Play with Monique and Naveen. You have Thinker Themer with Amy and Maggie. And then you even have Rodney from Watch It Played. So you have different people. You have a location. I think this one is for Rodney because he's from Prince Edward Island. And you have some more recipes. And that's basically the idea of what you'll find in each of the expansions, a set of cards to add into the game. Now you can also play this game solo, and this is one of the most intensive solo games I've seen. We have this solo scenario book, and so what happens is it tells you the setup, so who you can serve, who you start with, and some different things to set up. So then as you serve people, you'll notice that on the cards, we'll take Pip here, there are these numbers here. So he's 109, and I know Pip is part of the first scenario. So if you were to serve 109, you would look here for 109, and then you would continue to read. And I think he's the end of the scenario, and your milestones are complete. So you would find the person you're looking for, and then read what it has to say, and continue doing the scenario. So it's a whole story based, and it helps you learn more about all the different characters and guests, and it's just really fun. So if you're into scenarios, this book I think has 7. I've done 3 of them. I've done the casual ones, and then it gets into advanced ones. So I haven't tried the advanced ones yet. And then, as I showed you too in the expansions, there are also some more solo scenarios. So hopefully going forward, they'll continue to put out different solo scenarios to try. But if you play solo, this is a great game you might want to try. Overall, we really enjoyed playing. I played solo, I played with 2 people, and we played with 3 people. And we all enjoyed the game. And it's more than just foraging, making your recipes, and serving, because you have to think about who do you want to serve, what is it they want. So if they want to this, what do I need to get? And then when you're picking your person to serve, do they have a jar? Is it at a game end bonus? Is it a discard to and get this something right away? Is it a serve bonus? And how will that affect your scoring? Now, when we played with 3 people, Mark was totally ahead throughout the entire game. I was in last place. But by the time we added up our jar bonuses and our game end bonuses, Gemma and I tied, and Mark lost. So just because somebody's ahead, it doesn't mean they're winning. So all these little things come into effect. Now, the other thing I want to mention, which I didn't mention earlier, is when you're playing with people, your movement. You cannot land where they are. So if I was to move 2, instead of going 1, 2, I would actually go 1, 2. You jump over people and continue moving. So that's just one little thing I want to mention in there. But it's really fun also with getting the books, getting these bonuses. This one's really great, as I mentioned, to get to a picnic table. If you put it in your serving, cooking area, you're almost guaranteed to always get to a picnic table. And the other thing too, with the way the maps are, that if you need a specific food, there's a good chance on your turn you'll be able to get to that food item. Because each spot you get 3 choices. So depending where it is, you can move across the board and try and find the food item you want. So typically we are able to get to that item. So it's an easy game to learn and easy to play, but there is strategy. And again, that solo scenario book is amazing, and it gives you a really intensive gameplay experience when you're playing solo. So overall, we think this is a really fun, great game. So the only place we did have an issue with during the game was when Gemma and I played a 2-person game. We found that sometimes the recipes did not coordinate with what people wanted to be served. And we were left with a bunch of things we couldn't use at that point. And so we took it upon ourselves to maybe trade out the recipes from time to time. Now what happens is after the 3 rounds, when you're changing your location, you actually change out all your recipes and all your guests. But until that point, we were sitting there with a whole bunch of recipes that didn't correspond. So that would be the only thing. When we played 3 players, there was enough people taking recipes and taking guests that we were able to find things that coordinated, that we needed to make to serve. But in a 2-player game, sometimes the cards don't flip over as often, and you may find yourself looking for a specific recipe that isn't there. But as I said, overall, we did really enjoy Wild Gardens, and I'd highly recommend it if it looks like a game that you would enjoy as well. So let me know in the comments if you have played Wild Gardens and what you think of the game.